Okay. I'm just gonna go ahead and refresh the page. It's showing that we're live. I want to make sure it's running smoothly. All right, cool. Are live. Well, good evening, everybody. Hope everyone's having a great night. Today, we are joined on the show by actor Michael Berryman. You guys may know him from movies such as The Hills of Eyes, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, or you may also know him from movies such as Weird Science, and maybe even Devil's Rejects. He's been in so many movies that we'll discuss in this interview. I'm so excited to have him on the show. How are you today, Michael?
Doing great, doing great. I'm in California. I'd like to do a big shout out to all my friends up north in Canada.
Most definitely, most definitely. And everybody that's watching, if you guys have any questions for Michael, please let me know. I'll get to your questions at some point of this interview. But we're gonna go ahead and start off this interview. What I want to know is, what are some upcoming projects that you want to talk about? I know before we started, we just talked about your new book coming out.
Well, right now it's kind of slow. What I'm doing is working on my autobiography. The working title right now is "It's All Good," and I want to have on the cover a picture of me when I was 4 years old, when I still had hairs before my first haircut, and before I had skull surgery. But it's a rite of passage. It's my entire life story from um, you know, being born to just about present. I, I do cover my film career, but most important, I like to do. It's about life, how you approach life. How you deal with positive and negative, and um, what people were highly influenced me. Like I had a grandmother that was incredible, um, and it will be revealing a lot of stuff about what it's like to be an actor. Before you have a name in Los Angeles, from sleeping on people's couches to living in the mountains. All of the above. It's going to be a very good read. I'm hoping to have it ready sometime by mid to late summer.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm looking really forward to that. Definitely keep an eye out for that, everybody. And just let everyone know too, if you guys want to keep updated with Michael, go follow him on Facebook. He posts all of his updates there and what's going on in his life. And you're just talking about how you were born with a rare disease. For anybody that's not familiar with what you have, do you mind just doing a brief summary of what you have?
Yes, very quickly. My father was a Navy surgeon. He was a neurologist, and he actually went to Ground Zero at Hiroshima. And of course, with the radiation to all of the study that we've done through doctors, etc., I believe the radiation caused the birth defect. So I was born with hypohydrotic ectodermal dysplasia with synostosis of the cranium. And what that means is my skull was completely fused. So at about whenever you're in like first grade, I think that whatever, I think it's around age, I don't know, at the age of 4, I believe it was. I went to Children's Hospital and they gave me a haircut, the only one I've ever had. And they literally cut the whole top of my skull into little squares. Wow. And assembled them like a puzzle, literally, and had little spacers from my pelvis of bone. And they literally built a new top of my skull for me. And they did a really good job because I did not lose my eyesight. I have good balance. Some of the other side effects of my condition were the fact that I cannot perspire, dissipate heat, things of that nature. It was a challenge, but as a child, you're unaware of your shortcomings until they become obvious.
Right, for sure. Well, I'm so happy to hear that you're in such great health and you're doing so well. And even though you're born with this rare birth defect, people know you. When people see you, they know you. Like, I was thinking, like, how does it feel to be considered a horror icon? Because when people see you on the Hills Have Eyes poster, they know it's you.
Absolutely. Um, I actually was going to, in the early days when I left college, I didn't have my full degree. I kind of ran out of money. I wanted to be a veterinarian, but the ends of my fingers are my knuckles. So I really couldn't do procedures very well. I did study 2 years of veterinary science, and then I um, had to get out of that department. And I took a lot of classes in literature and art history, social sciences. I even took some agriculture classes. I had a lot of friends that were going into that area, but I didn't know where I was going to wind up. I used to cook. I had a little restaurant at one time, but I had issues with heat. That became a problem. I lost a lot of jobs. Didn't know where I was going to wind up. And of course, I thought a cooler climate would serve my health and longevity. So I was fixing up my old Dodge Power Wagon 4-wheel drive and getting it prepared with a winch and all the things I needed to drive all the way up to Alaska and fill out the paperwork to homestead. I actually never made it to Alaska. I got sidetracked. I went to a friend's. They had an antique store in Santa Monica, in Venice Beach, and I had a little gift shop across the street with a friend of mine, and they said, would you come on over and maybe put some of your items, well, we also sold plants, so we put some of our palm trees and stuff like that in this antique store, and it was invitation only. A lot of wealthy people showed up to buy ancient Chinese urns and Ming Dynasty this and that, and we just made it look a little more homey by putting in some plants. While we were waiting for the evening to end, I had a gentleman introduce himself to me. It was one of the owner's father, and his name was George Powell. And George said, "You have an interesting look. I would like to put you in my movie, Doc Savage." And I said, "Man, I'm not an actor. I'm just getting ready to, sell this little shop across the street." And he handed me a business card, and it said Warner Brothers. And then I remembered that he actually produced The War of the Worlds, and we had a conversation. He said, just call my office, and I'm going to put you in my movie. You have the look I need. So I did, and I worked one day, and he made sure I got my Screen Actors Guild card, tapped Hartley and gave me a 2-day guarantee. And I think I made about $400. And I figured that was the best film career ever.
Mm-hmm.
But ironically, George Powell had a casting director that was casting for another project. And when they met me on the set, and they said, "Wow, if we put some scars on this guy's forehead, he could look like a lobotomy patient." So they called me up at home and said, "Would you like to come to a meeting and meet Michael Douglas and Saul Zaentz and Milos Forman and Jack Nicholson? We think that you would make a wonderful lobotomy patient. We're doing One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest." And of course I said yes. And after 4 months of working in Oregon, I came back to California, and then of course I met Wes Craven.
Right.
So it was a strange journey to that place, but I'm always grateful. And I always promised I would tell George Powell that you discovered me, because that's what he requested. So here you go, George.
That's so amazing. I mean, just for all that to happen, it's an amazing story, and I love it. That's so cool. That's so fascinating. And I actually I was watching some of your past interviews too, and one icon you got to meet in real life was Rod Sterling. And I think that's so amazing. Like like not a lot of people can say that they've met and just talked to Rod Sterling just for like a half an hour just for fun.
It was very surprising. I walked in I grew up in Santa Monica, and there's a place a few blocks from where I lived growing up called Brentwood. It's real popular now. And there is a 31 flavors Baskin Robbins, and my brother and I decided to go get some ice cream, and we did. And it was about 8:30 at night, and Rod had just finished taping, and he had makeup on, and there was a Lincoln Continental parked outside with the driver, and there he was in his suit and very swarthy, kind of leathery skin because he was a chain smoker. And my brother nudges me and he goes, "That's Rod Serling." So of course we followed them out to the curb, and we did the theme song. and he wanted to run away, and then we were just joking with him, and he said, no, it's okay. We're big fans, and you tell good stories.
Right.
And then he asked us back, he goes, "Well, which ones?" And then we talked for about 25 minutes. He was a very interesting fellow.
That's amazing. Are you watching then? I know they just rebooted The Twilight Zone. Are you going to be watching that at all?
I will. I hope it's good.
Yes.
I really do.
Me too. I mean, Jordan Peele's doing it, so I'm hoping it should be good. I've heard good things so far about it. Another question I had for you, though, was from working in your career with so many different people and so many different projects, what has been your favorite project to work on and your favorite person to work with?
Oh, boy. My favorite project was The Crow with Brandon Lee. It would have been wonderful if we could have completed the film as it was written and have the Skull Cowboy be a part of the film story. Brandon was wonderful to work with. He was such his soul, his confidence, his presence was like a deep well. It was just a real treat to spend time with him for about 3 weeks while I was there. We worked out all of our scenes were, together. I also really enjoyed the X-Files episode. It meant a lot to me because to be at first thought of as a bad guy, and then you're actually a guardian angel, and you actually give up your life in the process of trying to protect the young boy, which is parallel to some of my personal life stories. I have a lot of friends that retired military and law enforcement, and one of my biggest concerns is having a future for our children, for it to be safe, and also have, of course, a planet that is not toxic or dying. Right. But to audition for that role, it was the last time I had to audition. I know they see about 100 people, 100 actors for each role. And I walked in and I saw Chris Carter, and they said, "I'm the guy you want, and let's do this scene. I'm going to prove it to you." And they hired me on the spot. Wow. And I was pretty excited about that. And then to work with David and Yellian was tremendous. And I think also working on Weird Science, yes, was absolutely thrilling because Robert Downey Jr. is just a godsend, and working with Bill Paxton was delightful. Right. The last time I saw Bill was at a convention, and with that lovely smile, and I just said, "You're my favorite whiner." And he goes, "What?" And he goes, "Michael, what do you mean?" I said, "Well, game over, man. From Alien, you name it." And he starts thinking. He goes, "Yeah, I get a lot of parts like that, but you meet some wonderful people."
Most
I got
definitely.
to meet Paul Newman, and I got involved. He invited me to get involved with his charities that do medical procedures for children. They rebuild their faces for them. So I've been very blessed, and I like to, don't have the fortune, but the fame and notoriety is very helpful to get your message across. That's why on my Facebook page there will always be uplifting posts, and I've got a big following, and I'm very proud of what we put on as far as content, because lift your spirits, and other posts will make you think, and some will kind of grab you at the heartstrings. But it's all about humanity. It's all about people rising up and doing what needs to be done.
Most definitely.
What other reason is there to get up in the morning?
Right. Most definitely. That's great of you to do that. We have a couple questions here in the live chat. Some fans are sending in some questions. We'll go to a couple here. Someone says, is there a horror franchise that you would like to work on?
Good question. I don't have one in particular, but I do have a theory about a franchise, and for me, the theory of the franchise is it funded? I've had so many scripts over the years that were just remarkable. There was one called Stingy Jack, and it just never got off the ground. I mean, there's times when you get a script and you just fall in love with it, and then it's on your pile of things to read, and sometimes they never get made. Yeah.
It's sad when that happens.
Can be, frustrating.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, it's sad when that happens, because it puts so much work writing that script, and then it just kind of nothing happens with it. It's too bad. Another question here from a fan. It says, do you enjoy working with Rob Zombie? Are you also in 3 from Hell at all? I didn't see that on your IMDb, I don't think.
No, Rob is delightful. I like working with Rob. He made the work easy. He's got a good vision. There, we did the Devil's Rejects, and then we also did
Lords of Salem.
The Lords of Salem, but
yeah,
we lost about 4 pages of the script in the beginning of the script. There is Sid and myself we're butchers with the Magnus brothers, and there's a scene where the guys wearing the pilgrim hats, show up with the arrest warrant for the witches, and we have supposed to have about 2.5 pages of dialogue with explaining why we go out, and when the witches are by the bonfire, and we arrest them and take them into custody, and the movie kind of jumps right to that without the backstory.
Right.
I was hoping that we could get it correct, but when I'm not going to say the 2 actors' names, they've been around forever. So Sid Haig is standing next to me, and this is after we've already filmed the witches being tied up and all of that. And you got to understand, it was at night. It was cold, and here's the actor ready to read the arrest warrant, and here's what we hear. He says, instead of saying his lines explaining why witches are being arrested, here's what we hear. Rob, can you make the torches brighter? I don't have enough light to see the words on the arrest warrant.
Oh, no.
Rob says cut. We all go back to our trailers, wait for about an hour and a half. Rob knocks on my door, and he says, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know they couldn't read their lines. I said, Rob, they were scripted lines, so
right.
You're supposed to have them memorized. And he says, why? I would have made them glasses, that would fit the time period.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, but the bottom line, they should have told you that they couldn't if you're having trouble memorizing, there's ways to get the scene. So, long story short, we missed out on a lot of the important backstory.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I've heard rumors that Rob is going to do another movie with all of us.
Oh, cool.
So I don't know. I don't know when we'll work again. Because I don't listen to the rumors. I wait till I get a contract.
Yeah.
and if I have a plane, if I have a boarding pass, I'm pretty sure I'm going to work.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that happens one day. That'd be cool. I know you don't have too much time, Michael. I just had a couple quick questions, if you don't mind answering them. I just want to know, I'm such a big.
We have time. Go ahead.
I'm a fan of Motley Crue. I just want to know, like, how was it working with them and smoking in the boys' room?
I'm really glad you asked that because I'd like to finish up the conversation with the crew. Now, is the movie out yet?
It is.
I understand they made him. I saw something online where they've made a movie about their life.
Yeah, it's called The Dirt.
The Dirt, right. Now,
yeah.
I do remember getting a phone call from my agent, and he was an older agent. He'd been around a long time. He had the little pencil Earl Flynn mustache, gray hair, kind of a barky voice, but a great guy. He really got, he was a no bullshit kind of agent. So he calls me up. His name was Lou Deucer. And Lou calls me up, and here's how the conversation goes. He goes, "Hey, kid, I got you a gig." Now, for him to say gig was pretty funny because, he's pretty traditional, but a can-do kind of guy. And I go, "What's the job, Lou?" And he goes, "Well, they want you to go to this set, and some of it's going to be filmed in an auditorium with kids, and it's a rock and roll band, and they're called Motley Crue." And I go, "I don't think that's the right word." Well, that's kind of how I'm reading it. I said, "Maybe it's Motley Crue." And he goes, "Yeah, that'll work. You go ahead. Here's the information. Go have fun." So I call up a friend of mine who used to work. He's a film historian, and in his early days, he was in the military, and he worked for a admiral at the Pentagon. So he knew protocol really well. He was his driver. And I said to my friend John, I said, "Hey, I'm going to do a music video with Motley Crue, so I'm going to need a designated driver." and that's you. It's great. So he was, and I remember going to the auditorium, and there was a stage, and then there was curtains and security, and that's where the guys were hanging out. So I was invited to go back sit with them, of course, and we had some party favors. Use your imagination, and there was also a couple of big drums filled with ice, Coronas, the beer, and whiskey, and so we kind of partied and got loose and just had a blast. And Mick Mars, Mick was a big fan of The Hills Have Eyes, and we hit it off really, really well. They were super nice. I remember when Mick was having issues with his arm. He had hand issues, and he was concerned he had to have surgery. He was worried about being able to play.
Right.
So we kept in touch by telephone during that time, and it was funny because Tommy even said that anytime the band had a disagreement, Mick would be the one that would kick their ass. And they were just a lot of fun to work with, and they're very they're very competent musicians, and I really liked. I think Home Sweet Home is one of the best videos out there. And then at the end of the video, when they pull my wig off, I wiggled my ears. That's really me wiggling my ears, and we were just goofing around. And then and I told him, I said, "Hey, check this out." And I think Vince tried to wiggle his ears, and so did Tommy. I think Tommy is the only one that could. But anyway, they left that in. Wow. And then after a while, that was one of the most popular videos by request, Saturday mornings. And one day, the video aired, and the ear wiggle was not in there. And I heard rumors that the fans got so upset because the ear wiggle was missing
Oh
that
no.
they phoned into MTV and demanded that they put that back.
Mm-hmm.
So about a year goes by, and I'm doing some voiceover work at a soundstage, and the technician says, "We're here to clean up some dialogue on this movie." And I go, "Great." And he says, "By the way, I knew you were coming today, so here's a copy of my worksheet back in the day when I went to work, and one of the things I had to do was to reinsert your ear wiggle for the MTV video, Smoking in the Boys' Room, and it was only like 4 seconds of content." But so what I'm saying is, you gotta love the fans because they demanded 4 seconds of ear wiggle be put back in, and somebody at work actually had to put that ear wiggle back in the video, so it would be on MTV, so people could have a good laugh with the ear wiggle, And then a couple years later, Vince Neil, he opened up a little restaurant in Las Vegas at Circus, and it's a little tiny little backyard little restaurant. And for the grand opening, he called my manager and he said, "Hey, I'd like to have Michael come out, to open my little restaurant." So my point is, the crew, the boys are delightful to work with, and they're really they're good guys, and I had the most incredibly enjoyable time with them.
Wow, that's
pretty darn nice guy.
That's so amazing to hear. That's so cool. Michael, you've had quite the career and been doing so many different things. And before I let you go, I just want to ask if I could possibly get you to do a plug for the show and also mention some upcoming cons that you'll be attending. Yeah. So for the
I don't have any solid convention dates right yet.
Okay.
There's some coming up later in the summer, but I will be posting on my Facebook page once the travel and dates are secure. But what would you like for a shout out?
For the plug, just state your name and say that you're listening. State your name and just say you're listening to Chit Chat and Geek Out on Geek Out Cinema.
Chit Chat and Geek Out on Geek Out Cinema. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Hey everybody, this is Michael Berryman, and you're listening to Geek Out and Chit Chat on Chit Chat Radio.
Oh yeah, it's Chit Chat and Geek Out on Geek Out Cinema.
On Geek Out Cinema.
Yeah.
Okay. This is Michael Berryman, and you are listening to Geek Out and Chit Chat on Geek Out Cinema.
That was awesome. Thank you. And everybody that is watching, please go follow Michael on social media. And I left all the links below to his Facebook and IMDb, so you guys can keep updated to his most recent projects and everything that he has going on in his life. And go check him out as some upcoming cons. And Michael, I appreciate you so much for coming on the show today. It's been so fun talking to you, and hopefully I'll meet you this year at a con soon. I think you're going to be attending Frightmare Niagara Falls, so hopefully I'll see you there.
We'll see you on the flip side, brother.
Oh yeah, for sure. Have a good one. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys, that was my interview with Michael Berryman. Hope you guys enjoyed tonight's show. It was an honor having Michael on with us today. Hope you guys enjoyed tonight's show, and please, guys, make sure to go check him out on his social media. Links are down below in the description, and also follow me on Instagram to keep updated to the new guests I'll be getting on the show. And I appreciate you all watching tonight and sending your questions. It was really fun. And I'll see you all real soon. Hope everyone has a great night. Take care. Bye now.